focal point in headquarters, but we don't know. We haven't sent the medical teams yet.
All right. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you. Bye.
We're going to move on to our correspondent, Harry Fawcett, who joins me now live as well. Harry, you're in Seoul. What can you tell us from there? Have you any reaction there?
No reaction from Seoul, but I can tell you what we know about this event so far, that it was a 7.3 magnitude quake off the coast of northeastern Japan, and that the key thing really is the depth was pretty shallow, only 10 kilometers. Now compare that to the great East Japan earthquake of the 11th of March 2011. Obviously that was a much higher magnitude 9, but it was also more than twice as deep, and so often the depth of the earthquake tells you how much of an effect it will have in terms of the kind of pictures you're seeing now, the swaying buildings and so on. There are also other bits of information. We're getting the Shinkansen, the bullet train going north from Tokyo. That has been suspended for now. The tsunami warning that has been issued is much lower than a tsunami alert. They're talking about a height rather of a wave of about a meter along the northeastern Japanese coast. Further south, they're talking about a 50-centimeter wave. When you compare that to what happened on March the 11th, 2011, when 3- and 4-story buildings we saw getting overtopped and moved around by this giant wave, these giant waves rather, it does seem that the Japanese authorities don't believe that kind of event will happen. But nonetheless, this is a violent earthquake. We experienced one of a similar magnitude ourselves about a month after the Great East Japan earthquake in March 2011. And the effect can be very violent, but you also have to remember that Japan does build its buildings to very high standards, and the hotel we were in at that time was shaking around extremely violently, but only had very minor damage. So it is possible that despite this being a large earthquake, it doesn't necessarily mean that there will be extensive damage from it.
But having said that, Harry, I mean, you were there and witnessed what was going on after that last earthquake, and while many of the buildings are built to withstand, I mean, many of the buildings that are there now have suffered damage, and some of them are even temporary buildings remaining, aren't they? So they're not particularly well prepared.
That's correct. I mean, there are thousands of people who are still living in temporary accommodation up and down the Tohoku, as it's known. That's the region in northeastern Japan worst hit by the tsunami. There are thousands of people still living in these very small sort of porter cabin-like temporary accommodation huts. And so the accommodation, the standards for many of those people are pretty difficult just day to day, and obviously they're not in the perfect position to withstand an earthquake. All of those temporary housing areas, though, were built on high ground, well away from any tsunami zones. So as your previous guest was saying, I think a lot of people will be either on higher ground or getting to higher ground very quickly, with 2011's events still so fresh in their memories.
And perhaps the biggest impact of this one may not be on the infrastructure, but will certainly have a major impact on the state of mind of the people in those areas. Harry, I mean, you mingled with some people at the time, and you remember how much shock and fear there was around, and I'm sure that's being replicated today. But it would appear that the government this time has got its warnings out early, and perhaps the effort to move people away will be a little bit more coordinated this time.